This is episode 7 of the Candle Couple podcast, and today we are very lucky to have Logan Tremellen with us as our first guest.
What's up, guys? Good to be here.
I was actually on Logan's podcast a couple months ago, and that was my first time ever being on a podcast, so now the tables are turned, and I'm looking forward to this.
This is my first time being on somebody else's podcast.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I feel really honored then.
Yeah.
All right, you are the host of the Defying Odds Podcast. You're also the owner of Tremellen Media House and a famous action videographer.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I wouldn't say famous, but we have a pretty big following now.
What kind of following do you have?
I think it's total like 150,000 followers.
All right, so you know what you're doing.
Nobody knows me. We just posted a lot over the few years and had a bunch of videos go viral, so yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you talk a little bit about your background? We know each other from the gym. Obviously, we've been on a podcast together. I've been on yours, but you also are working more and more with us on Fontana Candle Co. and doing our videography. Could you just talk a little bit about your background, how you kind of got into that, and your story?
Yeah, so I'll break it up because I know there's a different question that I'll share a different part of the story. But I got into video just because I wanted to vlog. Like, I started daily vlogging. I had some health problems, so I wanted to basically vlog my recovery. That was the goal. And I was like, I had a friend who actually motivated me to do daily vlogs. So then I was doing a daily vlog every single day. I think I did over 270 vlogs in a row. And the only reason I stopped is because at the end of it, I had a full-time job in action sports photography. Actually, I was traveling the country, basically interning, getting paid, but like helping a professional action sports photographer who's been doing it for over a decade. Wow. So I think like 7-8 months out of the year, I was on the West Coast just shooting photos with him. And then I stopped that after a year because I started doing my own video on this side, covering the series that I was always kind of in my childhood. I used to race ATV motocross. So I switched from racing it to filming it. And over the past 4 or 5 years, just filming more and more there, getting more of a client base, learning just how to make better stories, how to make better videos. Then I started, I think 3 years ago, I started posting on social media, and just consistency and thousands and thousands of videos later, now we have a very good community and like a solid following of people, of clients who come back. And now we have a bunch of followers on the internet. So, and then recently in the past like 4 or 5 months, I've switched a little bit where I'm like, now instead of just helping in the action sports scene, I want to help businesses and like try to give them more value than I could ever do in action sports.
Katie and I, we're obsessed with Simon Sinek's and start with why. Everything is about our why and our mission. Knowing you personally, how are you using video to fulfill your why in life? What is your why, and why are you doing all of this videography? Why do you want to help businesses?
Yeah. So I had to really think about this because I read it when you guys sent me the questions, and I'm like, I don't consistently think like of what my why is when I'm doing things. Mm-hmm. But then I was literally thinking back to a little bit of background is I raced ATV motocross, and to make this story as fast as possible, I had a wreck, punctured my intestine, went to a coma, a bunch of surgeries, was told I had Crohn's disease, and that was the first of 3 like major health issues I had, all related to Crohn's disease, just first of 3 surgeries that I had. When I remember waking up from a coma that first time, I was a 16-year-old kid. Life was just normal, I was just going to school, really no care, no focus on like the future. And I remember laying in bed after the coma and just thinking like how lucky I was. And I say that because like, yeah, I just went through an insane health adversity, but I had so many people who were just supportive. Like, I literally had somebody come and say like, any bills you get, don't worry, like we got them. And I was like, to be in that situation and have that support. And then there was also a fundraiser that raised like $15,000 for me. Wow. And like, I remember scrolling through all the people and just thinking like, I know I don't have to, but I want to pay all these people back. So then when I got into video at the races, the same people who raised all the money for me, who offered to pay for all of our medical bills, when I realized that making videos for them was valuable to them, I think it just like clicked where I'm like, I can actually help people here. Like, I'm delivering value, where before I started video, I really didn't have any reason to do anything, Mm-hmm. The jobs that I had were just kind of meaningless to make money. And when I started video, I realized I saw a lot of value in that for other people.
I'm learning more and more why video is important to businesses. Can you help all of us understand why we need video today in marketing and in business?
So I was thinking about this, how to explain this in the simplest form on the way here, actually. It comes down to attention. Like if you want to help anybody, you just need attention will solve it all, right? Like if you want to grow a business, you need attention. The best way to get attention now is on the internet. And on the internet, when you look at all the platforms, they're all pushing video. So in that regard, video just makes the most sense because the internet is making it the most important. Then when you look at media as a whole, media is so important because you can leverage it, right?
Okay.
Like if you want to scale a business with cold calls, you make a cold call, it's a 1-to-1. You dial one phone number, you get one client. You make one video, you can put it on the internet, the sky's the limit. It can get millions and millions of views.
So your reach of that same effort is multiplied
Exactly.
millions of times over.
The internet, social media, creating video on it is just the most underpriced attention because you can get literally millions and millions of views for the cost of 15 minutes.
That's really insightful. So you can, not only that, but as opposed to a static picture, you can display a huge amount of information in a short amount of time.
Yeah, so there's the science behind why a video is better at engaging than a photo. I look at it as not even just that, but like the platforms don't push photos anymore. So if you're posting photos, you're not getting in the algorithm. I don't think about algorithms a lot. I just think of like what's working. Obviously, Instagram's pushing video, TikTok's pushing video, YouTube's pushing video. YouTube is Google. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world with 1/3 of the Earth's population on it.
Oh.
So like it's there, and if you're not taking advantage of it, then it's just really slowing you down, right?
So if a picture's worth 1,000 words, a video's worth 1,000,000 words?
I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
Depends how long the video is.
That's fair. Yeah. Okay. So how long should a video be?
I don't even think about that.
Okay.
Like when I think about posting my personal videos, it's like, how can this be the simplest, the shortest and simplest it can possibly be? You don't need extra fluff. You don't need any extra things. There might be algorithm people that say like 7 seconds is the best, but what's the shortest, that it can be? Don't include extra stuff. I did hear one thing where there's no such thing as too long of a piece of content. There's just too boring of a content.
Oh, okay.
Like people will watch a 30-minute video if it's not boring.
That's valid. Yeah. Yeah. It's like an hour-long TV show that goes by in 10 minutes or a 5-minute YouTube that feels like a year.
Yeah. So like the people who complain that people only watch short videos are just the people who don't understand that their videos are just boring and nobody wants to watch their videos. That's
insightful. And I think I watch you and your social media a lot, and one of the things that helped me understand it a little bit more is you can also take a longer video, chunk it up, and you have a dozen pieces of content from one effort.
Yeah. That's one of the main reasons I started the podcast. I started the podcast to get myself content because I know I wanted to start posting on social media again for myself and just to meet people. Yeah. And I mean, just from the podcast, I only normally take 2 to 3 clips from it just because I don't want to oversaturate my feed with the same exact show, but I can go back and still get content from the first podcast I did. And I can still get 5-10 pieces of content from that first video I did.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Just recycle and reuse over and over and over.
Yeah.
If there's a business that's just getting started making video or venturing into video, what are some tips that you would give them to get started?
I would say this is something that I learned from Gary Vee, and it's just so true. It's that most people who post on the internet are very selfish. He's a genius when it comes to understanding and watching consumer attention. Like he knows where people are going before they are there. Like he predicted TikTok like 2 years before it was a thing. Like he's just very up on trends, not because he's making predictions just like pulling them out of air, but just because he's very good at watching where consumers are going. So many people are just selfish on other platforms. Like when they post a video, they're like, I'm going to post this video so people comment or people go buy. But if you reverse it and you don't care if people actually buy and you're like, let me make a video that actually gives them value, that's where you'll actually get the most results or the most sales from, is giving them value. And then Gary Vee talks about it. He has a book on it. A bunch of people talk about this where like, you don't want to be doing call to actions all the time. Like if you spend a year of giving your viewers value and never asking for anything in return, just giving them value, just noticing when videos are popping, just doing more of that, just creating videos on whatever is valuable to them, not you. And then at the end of that year, then you do one call to action. That call to action will be more successful than every single call to action you did that year. Because when people get value from you and they keep on watching all your videos and they follow you on a consistent basis like that, they want to buy from you. Whereas if you were doing call to actions the entire year, they wouldn't, because they understand that you're just trying to get something from them.
That's really cool to hear, because now thinking back to all of the content I've watched of yours, I don't think I've ever heard you say, buy something, contact me. I don't think you've said anything like that before.
I don't, yeah. I don't create my videos to get sales.
Yeah.
I create my videos to help people.
Yeah. And you said that over and over and over.
And if that ultimately gets us sales, amazing.
Yeah.
But I'm not like making my videos so people buy from me. And I will say, me doing that has already started to grow the business. Me just creating value and create connections. I've already seen 3-4 new clients.
That's awesome.
Which were high ticket stuff, not small dollar things. So it makes a big difference.
Oh, that makes a huge difference. Yeah, if you can give that expertise or that insight and help them with a piece and then make yourself look like the expert in that field, yeah, people are going to want you to be in their business and help them with your expertise.
Yeah. And I don't even I don't consider myself an expert. I don't consider myself a professional or a famous person. I just consider myself obsessed. I consider myself obsessed with finding attention, creating attention, and just helping people. It's really it.
That sounds like a why to me. Fontana is doing it all now that we have more resources, that Katie does not have to do all of the content creation herself. To put it into perspective, our marketing team now consists of Katie, you, Cameron, and they're all creating content to fill 3 different channels of video. How do you know when it's time to hire someone to help you create content? When is the trigger? What is the trigger? Obviously, it's okay, well, now I can afford it. How do you help someone prioritize affording media? How should they know to do that?
I think it would start with, obviously, if you're not getting a return on media yet, then I wouldn't put more into it.
Okay.
So like before you hire it out, you should already be doing it consistently and starting to see results from it. Okay. I think that's number one, is like putting the work in yourself. A lot of people do just want to hire it out. I talk to so many people that are like, just do this for me. And I'm like, even when it comes down to like captions, I still now don't write captions, because I'll make the content for you. I'll help you do that. But if you don't understand why it's working, and if you don't understand that you need to write the caption, or else it won't be authentic, or else it won't actually be from you, it'll just be from somebody you're hiring out, which isn't in the business, that doesn't understand what you're doing. So you need to do it first, is what I'm saying. Like, you need to take the time and learn why they're important, because it is worth it if you do it consistently. Then once you start seeing results, like I posted Tremellen Media House, I built it 150,000 followers by myself. Not a single other person made a post or wrote a caption or added a tag. I did it all for 2-3 years. Only in the past 2 months have I started having people help me.
Starting with that consistency, even if it's not the highest quality, not if you even know exactly what you're doing, at least you start to get an idea of what is hitting with your audience and help you develop that. Once you're consistent, then you start looking for the professional help.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
Or you can get like advice from other people, because getting advice from other people will fast track your learning. If instead of me daily vlogging for 270 days, I would have brought somebody in and taught me in 24 hours how to make a good video, I would have learned a lot faster doing it that way compared to just trial and error for a year. But I think you need to truly understand first why it's working and why it's a thing, and just understand it, and then you can, start building a team around it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That does make sense. And I think too is, as you learn from a professional, you don't make those mistakes yourself. And those mistakes can be extremely educational for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's TikTok, there's YouTube, there's Facebook, there's Instagram. Which one of these things should someone start on? Should they start shotgunning every single platform? Do they pick one?
I would pick one.
Okay.
Depending on what you're in, some platforms might do better than others. Like if you sell B2B service, businesses to business services, LinkedIn is definitely your best bet. But also Facebook has an older demographic. I don't put too much thought into that. And then they also go back and forth, where like some platforms at different times have better algorithms for getting views. So like last year, we grew our Instagram a lot because Instagram was pushing your videos a lot more. And now recently, they haven't been. So recently, I've been focusing on YouTube more, because I'm actually getting more reach and engagement on YouTube Shorts than I am anywhere else. And I value YouTube more because YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, partnered with Google. I'd rather have a following on YouTube over all of them anyway. And now it just so happens that their algorithm is also the best. And then like 2-3 years ago, TikTok was the number one. or my personal account, I was living in New York City, where my personal TikTok had 250,000 views on some videos just because TikTok was the next thing. I think it's a hard question to answer because it's not just one or the other. It depends on what you're in, and it also depends on the time. Like right now, I might say YouTube, but tomorrow Instagram might change the algorithm and you might see that a lot more people are getting engagement on Instagram. So I think it's one, realizing what business you're in, and then also watching attention. That's a big reason why I follow Gary Vee, is because he's very good at watching where the attention is going, and he tells you where to start posting. So like I started on TikTok because he said it was going to be good. I started YouTube Shorts because he pointed out the fact that it was pushing, like it was getting a lot of attention. So following him is kind of like a cheat code, but following him is not the end all be all. You actually have to do the things where the attention is going. You have to follow it.
So what kind of content should a business put out there? Do they just do videos? Because we did some really cool shots our first one. We had some interviews, we had some product shots, we had some demonstration of how we were making candles. How do you put that into video? What is important? Is it important just to see that your product in action, behind the scenes? What should a business focus on? All of it?
I think it's everything, and people put a lot of thought into it. Where like I've talked to marketing companies before, and they're like, obviously ATV motocross works, like your action sports stuff works because it's cool. And I literally said to him when we were meeting for coffee one day, I was like, I can make anything look cool. Like everything's interesting. Just when you're in the business, it doesn't seem interesting. Me sharing my life in a vlog, if everybody here were to literally have to think about making a vlog of their life, they'd be like, my life's boring. It's not fun. That's your point of view because you live it every day. Same thing in your business. It might not look cool, it might not be entertaining because you're there every single day. Where somebody else, like when I came into your place, I didn't care about candles. I didn't know anything about candles. And I was like, this is actually really cool. It's like the process is cool. So you sharing your boring life or the things that you're used to might be very awesome for somebody else. You making wood whip candles, it might be simple for you and you understand the steps off the top of your head and you can do it with your eyes closed. But to somebody else, they could literally spend 10 hours a month scrolling through your content because it's just so intriguing and so interesting and so binge worthy of just watching you pour candles. And that goes for anything.
So someone's come to the conclusion now that, okay, I need a videographer. What kind of things should they look for in a videographer? What do they need? If they show up with an iPhone, is that okay? Because you come you come with an impressive setup,
and I do that on purpose.
I think it's awesome.
Actually, recently I've been thinking like I have very expensive camera gear, but I think we could make better videos if I had cheaper camera gear. I just posted a camera for sale. Actually, it's like a $5,000 camera. I posted it for sale because I want to buy smaller, basically like DSLR mirrorless style bodies, and I think we can make better content with the more maneuverable bodies than we can the big bodies, because the big bodies you can't really handheld them, have to be on a tripod. Like there's a lot of limitations when it comes to when you get into higher end camera gear, and so I've actually been changing that. I'm like, I kind of want cheaper camera gear, not because the quality will be any worse, nobody will notice because you're watching on YouTube or the internet or social media,
sure,
but because we can just do more. Like I could get more dynamic shots, it could be more run and gun, it can feel more authentic. You know, I think we got too professional there for a little bit, where we were too high end for the internet, for YouTube, but we weren't good enough for TV. And I'm like, I don't like that. Let me drop quality a little bit and focusing on that. So when it comes to what you're looking for in like hiring a videographer, obviously I feel like experience is like a big thing. Like you need to make sure they actually know what they're talking about. Most people think that like hiring somebody young is a good thing because they're just younger than you. They use TikTok, but just using it doesn't mean that they're actually posting consistently. Like pretty much the only difference between me and anybody else my age is I pay attention to it a lot, of like what actually works, not the trends, not the tags, but like what makes a good piece of content. And I've actually done it for the past 3 years straight. So like you can go hire any 20-year-old and they understand it. They obviously consume a lot of it, most of them. They might know how to post. Doing it consistently is different than just knowing how to do it once. So when you're looking for a videographer, I don't know, just at least somebody who's more intelligent, more skilled around it than you. Okay. And it was kind of a hard switch to make because when you get big camera gear, like people look at you like he's more professional because he has bigger camera gear and more cameras. Yeah. So it's kind of like an ego change. We're like, we don't actually need the cameras. That's actually the opposite of the look we're going for.
one of the things we look at when we're doing stage shoots for photography, at least, we stage it, we set it up, make sure it looks really nice and everything. And I think kind of to your point earlier about it's not necessarily the camera and the gear they show up with, it's their experience and their eye. We have a set person come in and like stage our shots, and that's that artistic skill. You can buy a $10,000 camera, but that doesn't mean you can set up a lifestyle shot. So that's one of those really important things that your videographer, photographer, whomever understands what they're trying to do, what you want as a client, and execute it. So how do people find you?
I'm Logan Tremellen. It's LoganTremellen on pretty much every social media platform. And yeah, that's it.
Okay. And you're building your business for videography, for business, helping people start up and really launch.
Yeah.
I've loved working with you, and we've actually started budgeting for this year, and I think we've budgeted you 2 or 3 times throughout the year just because the amount of video assets is so important now. Thanks, man.
You.